Good morning. Welcome to Sharon Turning Time. We're up to Perek Chav Zayin, where the prophecy about the end of days, Gog and Magog, continues by Yeshayahu on that day. Here is where one of the psukim about Leviathan comes to greet us. Yeshayahu on that day, at the time of the Melchama of Gog and Magog, Yifkod Hashem b'chad b'yakoshav ha'gdol v'chazaka, His great, strong, hard sword. He's going to smite Leviathan. Yifkod Hashem b'chad b'yakoshav ha'gdol v'chazaka Leviathan, this great sea serpent. And there's three ways how it's described: Nachash b'riach, a snake-like serpent which goes throughout the whole world. Leviathan kenochash akalason, like a doubled-up snake. And it's going to kill the serpent which is in the yam, which is in the water. So the sea serpent is described in three different ways: as a nachash bariach, nachash akalason, and a satan and ashel bayam. Now, what exactly this Leviathan means? There's many different places throughout Nach where Leviathan is mentioned. Over here, the Mefarshim understand it to mean different kingdoms. It means Egypt, or it's the bottom line. It means somehow it seems to mean the Bnei Yishmael, and somehow like they surround the whole world. Like metaphorically, if you want to understand it in modern day terms, it's like it says Yoda b'kol v'yat kol boy. Like Yishmael has the oil, and Yoda b'kol v'yat kol boy. Everybody has to come on to them. Some similar type of a concept is that it's Nachash b'riach, Nachash akalaso, and how they're intertwined in the entire world. But regardless, these are the three nations which are making trouble for the Jewish people. There are those that understand it. Also, I found it very interesting. They understand this whole. I was looking at all the different Mefarshim of Leviathan. That it's not. The Gemara talks about how it's going to be salted. How the Hashem kills how Hashem is Mesaris the Zachar, and then Nekeva he salts for loss of love for the tzaddikim. But upon him, it's something which is going to be prepared for the times of Mashiach, which is why it's going to get killed over here in the time of Gog and Magog. But it's also like a state of mind, a certain state of mind that it's a certain way of thinking. But regardless of however you understand it, the point is that which was a threat during the Gullus times is eventually going to become something that we're going to feast on in the times of Mashiach. Kapish? Samodik Nikida days. That whatever was the biggest threat is going to one day turn into something which is going to give you nourishment and joy. But Yeshayahu on that day, in the time of the Geula, this is a continuation almost, or a contrast to the shir that we had about the kerem earlier. Yeshayahu kerem chemer anula, the vineyard, it's going to give out good wine. Anula is going to sing. So earlier when we had in Perek Hay, we said vayikav lases anovim vayaz be'ushem, that the vineyard gave out bad wine, bad grapes. And here it's going to be the contrast with the vineyard of Hashem is going to give out good wine. Hashem, Ani Hashem noitzra, and Hashem is comparing him to his kerem, and he says, I created this kerem l'regoyim eshkenov. Whenever I need it, I'm going to water it. I'm going to make rain come down. Pen yivkoid oleo, laila v'yoyim etzareno. Pen yivkoid, so that there shouldn't be missing any of its leaves. Any of its leaves shouldn't wither. Therefore, because I tend to my vineyard, laila v'yoyim etzareno, I guard over it day and night. Chemo einli. Hashem says that even though the Jews transgressed against my will, I don't decimate them totally. Chemo einli, I don't have anger. It's not from the way I deal. It's not like I act out of anger. Miyitneini shomir shayes. Who would give me different thorns? Bamilchomo. Efsho bo. When I'm going to battle against its sins, efsho bo, I go very, very step by step. Psio achar psio, v'atziseno yochad. And I don't totally destroy it in one shot. I do it step by step. Oyachzik b'ma'uzi, the salvation of the Jewish people. Oyachzik b'ma'uzi, it's where the Chazal understand that the Uzi is going on the Torah. That they're mechazik b'ma'uzi. They mean they're mechazik in my strength. It means the strength of Hashem. Either the Torah or the strength of God. But they're not grabbing onto any other strength. Yasser sholem li. They're making peace with me and I'm not going to destroy them. Because sholem yasser li. And there's not going to be any battle between me and Klal Yisrael. This is the ultimate sholem. When there's sholem, when it's yasser sholem li, sholem yasser li. The double lashon of sholem. Here's a very, very famous pasuk. Haboyim Yeshayahu. The time of the Geula. Haboyim Yeshayahu. Haboyim. Those that are coming in the time of the Geula. Yeshayahu. There's going to be a shoydish, a root of Yaakov, which is going to spread out. Yotzitzu farach Yisrael. When the roots are going to spread out beneath, so it's going to blossom and flower from above. And it's going to fill up the entire land, tenuva, like the growth of the field. This is where tenuva comes from. So this blessing is that Klal Yisrael is going to be nidma, like this vineyard or like these trees, that the roots are going to go very deep, and therefore from on top it's going to blossom and flower, tenuva. And here, Hashem describes how He does not act out of chema to suddenly go and destroy the Jewish people. He says, "Akamakas makeu iko." Did I ever hit Klal Yisrael like I hit nations? Where when I hit a nation, I blow them off the map. Im keherek arugov. Did I ever kill them like I killed those? Horoig. Did I ever kill the Yidden the same way I destroy other nations? No. Besaso. I work with a measure, with a saw. Bishalcho teriveno, on the wheat fields, on the fruit fields, teriveno, that was where I argued with them, and I would send them messages. I would send that there should be a shidofo, and there should be a disease in the fields, there should be this simon. I send them signs and I send them hints, but I don't ever go and destroy them totally. Hogo berucho yakosho v'yoim kodem. Hashem removed all of the growth, all of the fruit, all of the payers of the field with a strong wind, b'yom kodem, in the day that the east wind blew. So basically, the concept is that when you look throughout world history, there's nations who've come and gone, but Klal Yisrael has always remained, and that's the concept that He deals with us b'saso, with a measurement, and there's always an intention to bring us back, to return back to Him, because we are God's vineyard, which He tends until we're going to produce good wine. And now the Navi continues that being that my compassion on the Jewish people is as you've seen, Lochen bezois, therefore, Yechupa Rabon Yaakov, the sin of Jacob is going to be atoned, it's going to be forgiven. And what was that sin? The sin was avodah zarah, and this is going to be the result. Hosir chatoso, of removing the avodah zarah, b'shumoy, kol avnei mizbeach, that all of the stones of the mizbeach, ke avnei gir minu potzoitz. It's going to be strewn about. All of the avodah zarah edifices, the stones, are going to be strewn around, ke avnei gir minu potzoitz, like smashed stones. Lo yakumu hashedim, that they're not going to use for themselves anymore. Ashedim, these are trees which are used to service idols, v'chamonim. These are different statues which they used to put on the roofs. And the roof, ki ir b'tzura, because when I'm going to cut down, ki ir b'tzura, when you're going to remove all of the avodah zarah, it's going to turn into a ir b'tzura, Bodod Nove. Ibetzura is the town of that's Edom. All of the people who were fighting against Klal Yisrael. Bodod, they're going to be desolate. Nove Meshulach, their place of living is going to be abandoned. V'ne'ezav kamidbar, it's going to be desolate and abandoned from people, just like a desert. Shom yira egel v'shom yirbots. In those places, yira egel v'shom yirbots v'chilos yifel. It's just going to grow wild, and in the end, Klal Yisrael is going to come and it's going to take it over. It's going to take over all of those desolate places. And when is the branches of Edom going to get removed? B'yevosh ketzira, just like dried out branches. Tishabarno, it's going to get broken. Noshim bo'os me'iros, it's going to be a nation that's as weak as woman. Bo'os me'iros, oiso, kiloi am binoisu. It's going to be, it's like dried branches. It's going to get pruned and it's going to get moved away. You know why it's going to happen to all of the nations that was antagonizing the Jewish people? Kiloi am binoisu. Because Edom or the other nations is a nation that doesn't have binos. They're not mevin dovin miterch dovin. They don't have understanding, and they don't realize that the whole power that they have is from Hashem, and it's not anything that they did on their own to deserve it. Therefore, says Hashem, Alkein lo yirachamenu oiseyu v'yotzro lo yichunenu. Therefore, I will not have compassion, and I will not have pity on them. Here's very, very famous psukim, a very gewalt prophecy from Isaiah the prophet. V'oya b'yom hu, on that day of Gog and Magog, when Mashiach is going to come, gather all the Jewish people. Yachboit Hashem, Hashem is going to separate us from the nations. Mishiboilas hanohor, from those that live on the edge of the river. Al Nachal Mitzrayim, the river of Egypt. He's going to separate them. Va'atem tuluktu la'achad echad. He's going to pick us out one by one, Bnei Yisrael. Hashem is going to pick out every single Jew one by one. It's going to be on that day when the good is going to come, and all of the Yiddelech who are spread around the world. Yitaka b'shofar gadol. There's going to be a great sound of a great shofar. Uvao oivdim be'eretz Ashur, and those that were lost, which the Chayr is referring to, I said it's Ashvatim, but all the people who were lost around the world, around the globe, the other side of the Sambatyan. V'nidochem be'eretz Mitzrayim, those that are pushed aside in the land of Egypt, which is in modern day referring to all the people who lost touch with their roots and they don't know anymore that they're Jewish and they lost their connection. And they have no idea where they are and they don't know who they are. And they're going to come back to bow to God on the holy mountain, Yerushalayim. May it be speedily in our day today.